Hi y'all, it's Kimberly here. No, I'm not bald. It was raining and my hair is still wet. I do have a ponytail back here, so just remember that. I've got my first installment of my personal finance video. It's about budgeting, and this is primarily for people who are probably like high schoolers who are just moving out, or first-time college students moving into their first apartment, or anybody who's never lived alone and would like to learn how to what to do when you first move out and how to keep a budget. Um, the first thing you have to do is, do you have a job? Do you have income? Um, are you going to get roommates? And that kind of goes hand in hand with the income, because if you have roommates, then you can split the rent and some of the bills, divide up the bills, and you have to kind of think about what way you want to do that. If you've got an apartment that has a bigger bedroom with a large bathroom attached, and two people are sharing one bathroom connected, the two rooms connected with the bathroom, you kind of have to work out stuff like that so that you don't have any fighting, or you're not arguing, you don't have any resentment. Just kind of get that worked out ahead of time. And once you do get either roommates that you can get along with, or if you decide you want to live by yourself, you got to decide who's going to pay what deposits. And if you move into an apartment, usually the deposit is a little bit cheaper. You can usually if there's two or three roommates, they'll divide the deposit up. Each roommate will probably pay their own deposit. And if you're getting a house, it's going to be a lot more expensive. It's usually 1 month's rent, and that's for a personal deposit. If you have a pet, then that's probably going to be, I don't know, several $100s more. People, they really don't want animals to, mess up the carpet or tear anything up, so they'll probably ask for a deposit if you bring a pet along. And the utilities, each utility, gas, electric, and water, you're going to have to pay a deposit for that to get it hooked up. And in some apartments, they include some utilities, not all apartments, but some of them may have the water already included in the rent, or the gas, or the electric, or something like that. Now, depending on what part of the country you live in, and depending on what season, if you live in a hot area, like I live in Texas, it's very hot here in the summer, you need air conditioning pretty much. The electric bill can be very expensive. And if you live, I guess, like in Maine or Connecticut, your heating bill can be, I think a lot of places up there up north use heating oil. We use natural gas down here. And I don't know which is more expensive. I really don't know. So you have to kind of decide, how are you going to do that if you get a house? Do you have to fill up a propane tank, or do you got to fill up the heating oil, or is it just a natural gas line? And you got to decide, who's going to pay for what. And if you put a deposit in your name for utility, you were the one responsible for it. If they all move out and they just leave you with the bill, the utility company's going to come after you. They're not going to care about, they're not going to take names, or they're not going to hunt anybody down. They're going to hunt down the person that is uh, on the utility bill or the deposit. And that goes for lease too. If you're going to live in a house, you're probably going to want your name on the lease. And if you have roommates, you probably don't want to put the lease only in your name, because then that means you're legally, most responsible for everything. If there's damages or anything like that, they can take you to court and sue you for it. So you should probably have everybody's name on the lease, have everybody equal responsibility for taking care of the property or the house. And most apartments, they will write out a separate lease, usually for roommates, especially like in college towns or something like that. They usually do that. And if you're going to be living with somebody who's going to college, are they going to say they're year round? Are they going to move out? Do you have to look for another roommate, over the summer, or is that person going to come back? Are they going to pay the rent? Sometimes some kids they'll go home and the parents will pay the rent to keep that apartment because it's just about the same as paying more deposits and paying for moving. So they'll probably, a lot of kids do that, but some of them don't. If they just want to move, come back, or if their situation isn't completely set in stone, kind of work out those details too. You want to know, am I going to have to pay all the rent when they leave, or something like that. And if you if things don't work out, what is your alternate route going to be? Are you going to be able to move home? Do you have a savings account where you can pay for all the bills, everything by yourself? Kind of think about that too. And most places, when you move in, they want a check or a debit card. They usually don't like cash. A lot of places don't. Some places, they'll accept cash, but most places want a check or a debit card. And that means you're going to need a bank. Do you have a bank account? Usually, it's a good idea to get a bank account and a credit union, or a separate. Usually have two banks, and that's just a grown-up thing that you do. You don't put all your money into one place. You keep two separate bank accounts. And one of the reasons is if there is a financial crisis or something that happens, and they do happen sometimes. It's very, very rare, though. It's very, very rare. But having a credit union in addition to a bank, that is for building your credit. And if something does go wrong, if it doesn't work out, you need to move out, you can maybe get a loan from the credit union, because a lot of banks won't give loans anymore. Just don't. Or especially for little things like that. If you are joined to a credit union, you have a better chance of getting a personal loan than you do from a bank. Okay, I have my notes down here. I don't have everything memorized. I don't have a good memory. And the furnishings. Do you have your bedroom set? Do you have a bed? Do you have a dresser? You're going to bring your own TV, your own entertainment, or anything from home? Are you going to pack everything up? Are you going to put things in storage? Or are you going to move everything into the apartment or house? Do you have everything for the kitchen? Do you have pans, silverware, glasses, cookware? Are you going to cook mostly? Are you going to go out and eat? And if you're going out to eat, that's going to be very expensive. You can spend several $100s just eating. So you should learn how to cook at least a few meals. And entertainment. Are you going to have enough money to do what you want to do, after you get off work or out of school? Do you go out with your friends? Do you go to movies? Whatever you do you have a little bit set aside to, you want to enjoy your life when you're moving out. So you have to kind of budget you can make out a weekly budget for things like gas and food, but then there's the monthly budget for your bills like utilities, rent, car payment, car insurance, just everything that has a monthly price tag on it. That's your monthly bill. Anything that is something that you have to replenish, quickly, like every week, like food and, like I say, gas for your car. Also, investing. You need to think about saving a little bit, put a little bit into some kind of, like I say, a credit union or a savings account, something like that. And that way it'll help you, if your car battery dies, you got a flat tire, something else happens, you never know what's going to happen. And if you don't have, your mom and dad purse strings to pull on for money, if you're totally independent, which I was when I first moved out, my parents did not pay for anything. They didn't pay for any of my car. If I didn't have food, if I didn't have gas, I was in trouble, So I had to pay for every stinking little thing by myself, and it can be very hard. It can be very frustrating sometimes. That's why you need to learn to work on a budget. And, you have to account for fluctuating costs of gas, and your car insurance may go up. If you have a wreck, if something happens, you never know what can happen. Your cell phone bill, any other. Are you going to pay renter's insurance? Which, if you have a lot of nice things, renter's insurance really isn't that expensive. You can probably get a policy for under $10 a month. If you have, very expensive bedroom set, or you have a full kitchen full of appliances? Are you gonna, oh, also, yeah, do you need to buy a refrigerator? Do you need to buy a stove? If you're in an apartment, usually they're furnished, but if you're moving